Hello and welcome to Banking Frontiers Live. I'm Sneha Agrawal, and today I'm here to have a conversation with some of the leading lady luminaries of the BFSI sector on the occasion of International Women's Day. Today we have Mrs. Chiranthi Cooray from Hatton National Bank from Sri Lanka. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Sneha. It's a pleasure to be meeting you online.
So today we'll be talking about habits. So, ma'am, you have been a great inspiration for many women who aspire to have a great career like yours. What are the habits that you have inculcated for this professional success?
Let me tell you, actually, my habit is a habit, and it has been my motto in life, which is habit number 2 of Stephen Covey's 7 habits. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. So that is my first biggest habit. And apart from that, I've started this thing a few years ago where, on the 30th or 30th, 29th, 30th of any year, this is something I started later. So I write down resolutions for the next year. And the resolutions are on a wheel. So there are different spokes which correspond to a different area. And that's been a habit. And I review it mid-year and at year end to see how many of my resolutions I have been able to achieve. So that's another habit. Um, a, I won't say so much as a habit, but probably a personal trait is I believe in humanity and I believe in people. So I don't rush to judge them, but I'm more open and accepting of people. So I think that's like almost a habit now.
That's wonderful. Most of us tend to not keep track of our resolutions. So, how do you be consistent with the resolutions?
So basically, what I do is, as I told you, it's like a wheel with different spokes. So there are different goals. So some of them are financial, some of them are education, knowledge under those pillars. Education, so financial, then career, then leisure, spirituality, family, everything, pastimes. And then I know consciously this is what I want to do. So maybe it's reading a book, let's say something very simple, right? And then, yeah, so this is what I want to do. And then I try to do that. So that mid-year check helps as well to see how far away you are. And then you make some drastic changes if you need to. And then by year end, like I remember out of 14 resolutions, I've achieved 9, 11, like that different, 14, 15, generally managed to achieve quite a bit.
Okay. So, what of these habits did you develop in the earlier part of your life, and which of these did you develop later during your career?
So later, of course, I told you this resolutions thing is something I developed about 6, 7 years ago.
Okay.
Um, Something from the earlier part of life, I think something is which is very innate and which is my second nature is that openness and accepting people and believing in humanity. I think I can relate to it even as a child. So uh, maybe at that time I didn't know that it was something like a habit. But now, since I'm more mature, I can understand, and I think that started very early in life.
That's a wonderful quality as a habit.
Yeah, so there are other things like weekends are all scheduled, and if I want to do certain things, I write it down. So checking that list makes me feel good. To-do lists, grocery lists, a lot of things like that. Little habits which have helped me become more organized and become more productive. Time is of essence to me, so I've kind of got used to economizing on time a lot with little habits. I don't know whether they are, big enough to tell like this, but yeah, some things on maybe the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. Those are all habits that I probably have developed.
So little habits are the ones that actually help us grow and help us develop ourselves.
Yes.
So, are there any habits that you learned in the near future, maybe in the lockdown?
I used to be very good with needlework and embroidery. It
Okay.
wasn't something I needed to learn, but I kind of went back to it. So I used my time productively again, to keep my, did different things like but then everyone did that. I'll also talk about some bad habits. I think that's also, so I end up sometimes biting the edges of my nails, and that's not because I'm nervous. That's a bad habit, and I'm consciously overcoming that now. I mean, it's not complete unless I tell you some of those bad habits as well. I'm just being very honest.
That is something that even I do when I'm tensed. So, ma'am, can you share some instances where habits have helped you leapfrog challenges in your career?
Well, yeah, habit number two, begin with the end in mind. I think it has helped me to become a very holistic solutions provider. Not look at tinkering and patching to get over a situation, but go down right to the nuts and bolts and, identify root causes and find lasting solutions. And it has its good and bad. One thing is, sometimes if you overdo it, you're like over perfectioning something. So it takes time, and then your stakeholders get impatient. And that approach is more long term. So you need to know how and when to moderate your habit to get the best results out of you and for yourself and for others. But beginning with the end in mind has helped me kind of, so it's not just pushing a career. I've never set, career goals like that. But if I want a task done, an initiative done, and especially in my role as chief transformation officer, if I want to achieve certain finite outcomes, I know exactly this is how it should be done and this is how it will be done. So, the qualitative part of the execution is something I focus on, and that habit number two helps me a lot in that approach.
Okay. So, are there any techniques that you use to accelerate the adoption of these habits?
I'll tell you again something. I mean, not so professional and very high tech. Something like say intermittent fasting. So if you want to develop that as a habit, you have to have the discipline and work within your eating window and fasting window. So
Yes.
if it's like 16:8, then and you have to then build your whole schedule around it. So the
Yeah.
technique is disciplining yourself, and I think self discipline is one thing, but also self discovery helps to become better discipline. Understanding yourself first, and yourself better
Okay.
helps you become more disciplined. That's what I think.
Okay. That's a new perspective. I'm also trying to be more disciplined, so I'll definitely think about that. So, ma'am, what, according to your habits, that women, especially working women, should inculcate?
One thing is, from a professional point of view, a strong work ethic. Because women find it very challenging to balance a career and their familial responsibilities. So, again, being better organized, having the presence of mind, a certain higher level of consciousness. These are all very important for women because the challenges are enormous. I mean, when I was 20 something, I had a young family, my career was picking up. So I know, like, and this is the story of a lot of professional women. So, sometimes I've been tapping away at my laptop and my kids have come up with their stories. So that presence of mind, sometimes later on in life, everyone faces this, that kind of parental guilt. So, what I would like to tell the younger generation out there is probably like, that consciousness, that presence of mind. And those are very important in terms of forming as a habit, because when it becomes a habit it naturally kicks in. So it's not just a quality or a trait you have, but you work on it to bring it on when it's needed. That's one. And also, beyond our professional roles, we are mothers, wives, sisters, daughters, caregivers, homemakers, and I mean, essentially that role gets blended into us. So, frugality, economizing on resources, even including time. Even if you go to a supermarket, like I have a certain way of loading my cart with the SKU so that I have a speedy checkout. So
Okay.
I think of it because that's efficient for the cashier at the checkout point, the other people, and as well as for me. So my perishables and my freshies go first, the dairy and the frozen food in the middle, and the rations at the end, and then it's speedily checked out, bagged, and then it goes, later on at home. So, again, it's about frugality, not only in just terms of saving money, but saving time, saving resources, for yourself and others. So these are, I think, relevant for women. I found it useful, certainly. And also, I practice, as I said, the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. And I try to see how much I can, do that more, because I'm conscious of being a responsible Earth citizen. So I try to do that as much as I can.
Yeah, that's very important. And it's nice to hear that as a habit. So, so mostly habits are something that we do for ourselves and something that will help us grow. But a habit that you're doing for the environment, so that is wonderful.
Thank you.
Moving on to the last question. What impactful books would you like to prescribe for younger women?
I'll take it as younger women and younger men both, because these are books I've read, and I've got my 2 children, boy and girl, to read. And I keep recommending to a lot of young people, both men and women who come my way. So, Pearl S. Buck's Good Earth,
Okay.
then Alex Haley's Roots, Kunta Kinte's story, and then Mother by Maxim Gorky. So
Okay.
3 books from 3 different countries. And then there is a book written by a Sri Lankan author in Sinhalese. You may find it difficult to grasp. It's Dona Luisa Hevat Sadhani. It is about a Sri Lankan woman in the deep southern coast belt of our country, written by
Okay.
a Sri Lankan author called Badraji Mahinda Jayatilaka. I think that's a very inspirational story about a Sri Lankan woman. So four personalities coming through 4 different books from 4 different cultures, and of course, Letters to My Daughter by your own Premier Jawaharlal Nehru. That's a favorite. I think these are some good reads any person could would read and learn about life.
Okay.
There are more, but I'm an avid reader, so I can just give you titles and titles. 100 Years of Solitude. I mean, so many, but I'm just saying these are like some top of the mind 5 books, 5 titles.
Okay, I'll definitely try to get my hands on them. Thank you so much for being here and sharing those wonderful insights. We look forward to have more such conversations with you in the future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good luck. All the best to you.
Thank you.